Transportation Director, is going to give us an update.
Right. Well, I have to disagree, you did a fine job. And now we go to the bottom of the barrel, it's my turn. Okay, one of the things that I want to discuss this evening was that we was working on a plan for extreme cold weather, not that we haven't had it in the last little bit. But as you guys know, our buses, when the temperature drops below 20 degrees, they become very difficult to start due to the fuel in them gelling, and they have 32 quarts of oil in it. It's 1540 oil. It's a heavyweight oil to begin with, and as it gets cold, it gets thicker, which makes it more difficult to start the diesel engines. We have already started. We bought some cords to plug into buses where we have electric available, but we have plans to put in a station, if you will, at the bus lot out here, so that we will be able to plug in each bus. Unfortunately, they pull about 10.5 amps, so we're not going to be able to run it off of any of the breakers that we have in the building. We'll have to set one out there. We're also looking at the possibility of doing something similar, if needed, at Harts, at Duval, at Midway, at Guyan Valley, if we have an issue with them there. A lot of the buses in those areas are parked at individuals' houses. So we've already begun the process of plugging those up, but I wanted to give you an update on that. Another thing that I wanted to mention and kind of change gears a little bit was to speak about athletics. We have begun talks with the principals to develop some consistent procedures for our athletics in Lincoln County. Specifically, we need to come to an understanding as to what is appropriate for games and practice when there's no school due to weather and other emergencies. So we need to have a consistent policy throughout the county for that, as well as such things as what our expectations are for players, for coaches, for fans when it comes to our athletic events. We have, as I said, begun the process by talking to the principals. We're scheduling a meeting to have the principals come back and work on something that we can put in writing and put in our procedural manual, so that when we finally get that developed, or as we're developing it, I'll keep you updated as what those changes may or may not be.
Is there a policy in place now that you're aware of?
And you want?
Is there a written policy in place now that you're aware of?
No, that's what's got me into to looking for that. When this is a unique year with the weather and especially with the water situation that we had, and there were questions about, is it appropriate for our kids to practice or play? And so we started looking at policy. Well, there weren't any. So then we decided that we needed, to develop those policies. The last principals meeting, I shared a draft with the principals, and then we're going to come back and work on that to try to come up with something.
Because for years there's been, I guess, maybe a non-written one, or maybe as we went to Neola with the new policy revisions, it may have gotten, ousted or something.
Yeah, they may have. And now, as opposed to years ago, it's a much different animal now that we have one high school and we have kids who have to travel farther when the weather's bad to practice or games to get to the school. So I think it's even more important for us to look at now.
So there's, at some point, we're going to receive a recommendation.
Yes, when I meet with the principals, we'll come up with a written recommendation. We'll come up with maybe even some other things that I haven't thought of on the draft that we developed here. When we finish that, I was going to bring it and share it with you guys for your approval.
You mean there's no policy that says you can't play a game?
Not written policy in Lincoln County. No.
It's just been a practice that we've had for years, but there's not anything in writing.
And the SSAC doesn't have anything like that?
No.
No. The only policy that the SSCC has that I'm aware of that covers this kind of thing is if a student is not at school on a day, they're not allowed to participate in the event unless they have an excuse.
Okay, we'll just wait and see. I think it's just kind of been an unwritten law. If it's, if the weather is so bad or whatever for not at school, that, why would you have an athletic event? But, we'll be glad to look at it.
I think you should think about if we do not have school, but we're playing a team that does have school, do we play?
Yeah.
We should make a decision on that.
I agree with that, and I also think that it's not just our athletes, our events, but anybody who
Right.
uses our
Any
facilities.
extra- Yeah.
Yeah, anybody who uses our facilities should fall under the same guideline.
Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
Is that all you had, Ron? Anybody have any questions about the first item that Ron shared with us on the,
I just wondered, that your connections, are they tamper, I know, nothing's tamper-proof, I realize that, but are there any precautions to keep anyone from fooling with the electrical cords?
No, that's a big concern I have too. I actually was thinking, especially here, when we set this up, is to try to have some kind of surveillance camera out there. Because you know as well as I do, don't put this in the paper. You know as well as I do that somebody's going to try to take our cords
Well,
when
that
we do
duval
that.
could be a real problem, man.
Yeah,
Why don't you have the bus drivers keep possession of their individual cords?
but it's not, it's not the time, we plan on putting them in the box, but the problem will be in the evenings when they plug it in, somebody could come in the middle of the night.
Because we talked about maybe gating, you know, putting a fence out here also, so that we can secure that, and, you know, that area besides having the cameras in place.
back to what Rowdy was saying, this isn't something you can just plug in at each, plug in the bus in, plug into an outlet, because I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
It is?
It is.
Okay.
Actually, what it has, it actually has a motor heater on it.
Okay.
They used to have like a bulb in them, but the newer ones actually have a heater.
Yeah.
In the element, in the oil or in the water?
Yeah.
Because someone told me that they thought that they were wired directly, you know, in other words, you couldn't take them loose, they were wired into that, whatever we.
Yeah, no, it's actually on the, I don't know if you ever noticed, but on the front of the buses, there's a little thing that you pull up.
Right, well, I know on that end, I'm talking about on the other end. I
No,
thought it was-
we're gonna fix it so that we can unhook them.
Okay,
That way they can roll them up and put them in their chain box when they're not used.
okay.
And then the folks at home, if they agree to and want to plug it up at their house, we'll allow them to do that. If not, that's where maybe having a station at Hearts, maybe one at Midway for those other people.
This is probably not necessary to ask now, but
Sorry.
think about the cost to an individual bus driver of plugging in a diesel
Yeah.
for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I have a diesel pickup truck.
Mhm.
When it's cold, I leave it plugged in, and it will double my garage bill in the course of a month.
Yeah.
It's only about $20 to $40, but still, that's something to think about.
But that gives them the option, by
Right.
putting it somewhere else, will give them the option if they want the convenience of parking the bus at their house, then that's made available to them. But I agree, I wonder how much difference it's gonna make in their electric bill.
Well, Rod, also, if we set a pole out there and put, then we're gonna have to pay an electric meter 12 months a year unless you have it disconnected. And that'll be a demand meter, which makes the bill go way up.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it's the cost associated with doing that versus not being able to have school because we have buses that are not able to run. You know,
Now,
well, could you possibly get us a cost estimate on that?
absolutely.
And also talk to Power Company, see if they would come and unhook it in April
Okay.
and hook it back in November.
Absolutely, we'd be happy to do that, which
Yeah.
brings something else to my mind, just as a reminder, kinda. You know, these extreme weather days that we have, you know, a lot of people complain about us not having school because of the weather. But if you stop and you think about it, there's two issues that concern me, and obviously there's nothing that we can do. But we have a kindergarten kid or a first grader who's waiting on a bus that can't start, and they stand out in that cold for an extended period of time, then there's the possibility, and a distinct possibility with the weather, that we've had to become frostbitten. Another issue that you have is you have a busload of kids who's on a bus, it's really a tin can, and it breaks down along the way, and we have places in this county where it may take us 45 minutes to an hour just to get somebody there, much less fix the bus. But then we may have kids trapped on the bus in that extreme cold in just a matter of minutes before you have that extreme element. So, you know, just wanted to remind you that some of these days that we have to cancel school because of the cold weather, You know, there's a lot of thought that goes into that process.
Well, and something else to think about too, when you start a diesel up in those sub-zero temperatures, you have just put a month's worth of wear on that engine in the first 5 minutes it runs. So there's a cost savings in terms of long-term maintenance when you warm that oil or warm the fluids and let it start so the oil circulates. I don't know if you can find something to justify the cost of the, you know, someone has to have looked at that at some point in time.
Thank you, Rob, appreciate it.